Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on Royal LePage Binder Live. My name is Arms Bumanlag. Happy to have you along for this discussion as we dive into the real estate market from August 2021. Hard to believe as we turn next week, we'll be in the season of fall, and there's lots to unpack on what the market means to you and your family living and working here in Windsor Essex and where we're going over the fall months and into 2022. Always enjoy these chats. I get some great advice, and we hope that you take away some great information and knowledge from one of the best in the business. Joining me is owner and broker of record of Royal LePage Binder, my good friend, Mr. Frank Binder, who is joining us on the show. Frank, always good to see you. Thank you for spending some time with me today.
Always good to see you too, Arms. It's great to talk to you at all times. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Well, let's talk about that, Frank, because, since we've been doing this since April, we've been going, we use that term, unprecedented market, and things have been sort of red hot here in Windsor Essex. The numbers have come out for the month of August here in the region. Can you talk a little bit more about that sort of stabilization that you might be seeing and what's happening in the market as a whole here in Windsor Essex?
Yeah, I'm calling it a stabilization really because we've had unprecedented growth, and we still have it year over year, you're still seeing double-digit growth. So the bottom line is from August, to look at our August figures, we just had a bit of a decline in the listings, ever so much, really static, if you will. But that's a good sign in the sense that the listings, we've had an increase in listings. Unlike the rest of the province, most of the areas on my counterparts in the other parts of Ontario have declines in the listing areas. So we've had increases, and that's actually a good thing to try to kind of give our market some sense of stabilization. So, this is basically, we have a bit of a drop, as you can see in the stats there. But the bottom line is that's a good thing. It's really stabilized our market a great deal because we've got a decent supply. We weren't substantially undersupplied because we still have a lot of pressure on price then, in terms of stabilization. And because we've had a lot of increase in listings over the last 2 or 3 months, we've got that kind of price stabilization. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah, and that's interesting to see too. I mean, if you take a look at some of the graphs that we have here, I know that we've shared with the team too. I mean, this is interesting to see too, Frank, right? The average sale price continues to slowly rise from what I can see from this particular graph.
Yeah, it's interesting. It just it took a little bit of an uptick. And there's different reasons for that. Okay, some of the reasons is that we still have a very strong market. When you get changes, one of the examples of that would be, our $1 million market, if you want to call that, houses going over $1 million. We've seen in this last month an uptick in that. We've had 2 straight months of where it has tailed off, and now we had a bit of an uptick. So that does affect the average sale price ever so slightly. But we also saw a bit of a change from the last month, where we've seen the under $500,000 and over $500,000 prices. The number of houses sold in each of those categories have changed. So it got much stronger in the under $500,000 group, which we've not seen. We've seen that tail off. There was a real marked change last month, and now that has come back. And at the same time, we've seen that increase in the $1 million market. And that's the reason why you've got slight uptick into the $545,000 range in housing prices. But it's not major, right? It's just a small one. We're not seeing double digits. We're seeing just a small, I would call those adjustments.
Do you attribute that to a certain reason, over the last little bit, Frank, in terms of maybe, people kind of realizing what they can afford and what they're comfortable with affording, or is there something else attributing to that?
No, I think really it's just really the ebb and flow of the market. There's really nothing that I can really suggest. Listen, in August is one of those months, much like a July and August, in a normal market, we would expect in the real estate market that those are markets where we slow down somewhat anyways. We have people going on vacation, a lot of people going on vacation, a lot of realtors going on vacation. And that's what we've seen. We've seen particularly in August, we saw a lot of people going on vacation. So generally we would expect to slow down then. However, it's been strong. It's been robust, right? But the elements that we just alluded to just a moment ago, those have come into play. And it's really just the market's become more stable now, in my opinion, than I've seen in the past. We saw some trends going where there was a lowering of the market. It stabilized. That's a good sign for us in a sense that where it's a little bit more predictable, and certainly our salespeople want to see it that way. It doesn't mean that it's not a good market. It's a very good market. It's just not increasing at some rapid pace that it's catching everybody by surprise.
And I would assume, Frank, with these trends that you're seeing, I mean, this is something where I think realtors and the sales folks, they certainly need to adjust those strategies and how they're dealing with buyer clients and how they're reaching out and making those connections with folks that are entering the market.
And it's really a mindset. We've really got to change the mindset of those dynamics are changing, and so it's a difficult thing after having the same kind of mindset where our strategies have been to list a property at lower than its value, and then to see how many offers we can get on it. That's been a common strategy, and buyers have kind of got used to it. They've got used to the fact that, listen, the listing price that I'm looking at isn't really a real listing price, if you want to use that word. It's not the price that it's going to sell. It's going to sell out substantially higher. Now the question was, we'd have to kind of guess at whether that's going to be, hundreds of thousands of dollars or $50,000 more or whatever. And that always was dependent on how many offers would I get over the list price. So if I had multiple offers, was I looking at 5, 10, 15? How many offers was I looking at? And we try to estimate where that was going to end up at. Well, the problem is now is that we're getting less of those offers. So it's a case now of we've got to change the marketing strategy sometime, and we still are getting people who are listing at a price, expecting to get higher than that, not succeeding in it, having to take the property off the market, relist it, and strategize, if you will, and how they're going to sell their home. And so what we have actually gone to the point where we're actually saying this house is listed at market value, which in other words, the list price is what we're expecting you to sell it for. Okay, so, and that's the way we sold it 2 years ago. We used to sell it that way, right? Now we're kind of going back to that because there's more of it, and it's kind of a strange thing in a sense. But that's it's just those are adjustments to the marketplace, and that's what we're facing with. Those are the realities of today.
Frank Binder is joining me here on Royal LePage Binder Live as we dive into the numbers of August 2021 in Windsor Essex for the real estate market currently. Our website, chock full of great information too. If you're thinking about buying and selling, check it out for yourself. Frank, you just said something I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to circle back on this too. You had said that other places here in Canada have had some decreases over the last couple of months. And, are you thinking that our prices will decrease too, or is that just going to be something that's going to be sort of stable over the next little bit?
Every market is local. Every real estate market is local. So while there's trends in other areas, that may not affect us. So, but what we're finding that is affecting us is that if I'm having trouble selling my house in Toronto, I'm not rushing down to Windsor and putting in non-conditional offers, right? Because if I can't be sure that my house is going to sell in Toronto in a very short order, it changes my way of buying a house elsewhere. And so basically what we've seen, particularly in Cambridge, Kitchener, London, they're basically seeing a slowdown in the demand, especially because they have that Toronto effect, a greater amount of that Toronto effect. So they've seen that slowing down. That exodus out of Toronto is kind of slowing down at the moment. I think people have settled in to what the reality is in their lives to some extent. So that particular thing that was affecting our market at the beginning of the year is less so today. And so that adjusts things. But you got to remember those markets as well have less listings. They've had a whole lot of lower increases, no increase in listings at all. And so the supply side has really been a challenge for them and continues to be a challenge. So when you have that, you're not likely going to have drops in price. So, the supply side is really what affects those values. So the values are holding firm. Even in Toronto, the values of the houses are holding firm because there's less stock, less availability of houses for me to purchase and to buy and to look at. And if that's the case, then that's a difficult thing. Where we saw a bit of a drop in price because we did have listings and we did have that stock, and we still were getting it at a fairly rapid rate that could supply our marketplace. So that was a good thing. And so we had less less increases or more or less a stabilization in price because of that. And and that's really the difference between us and them at the moment. They're still having substantial supply issues with regard to properties being available for sale.
So would you say, Frank, that bodes well for Windsor Essex? I mean, again, having that sort of mentality that, we have a really good quality of life down here. We've got a fantastic region. I mean, surrounded by water for the most part. We've got great wineries. We talked about this often. Do you still feel like the area is still attractive for investors and for people to relocate down here?
Absolutely, no question about it. That's not going to end. That's not going to end. If you remember our conversation we talked about with condo apartments and that type of thing, we're now seeing as you see them come out of the ground and get people are moving into it. You got to remember those folks that chose to go in that direction, and they chose to go in that direction either as their first property that they were buying and they were going to go into that, or they bought a property even to rent it out. If that was the case, a lot of those things are now done. Now a lot of them are still there's still new developments being done. You see a lot more. You see cranes around the city. That's great. I mean, that's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, that's answering the question for our problems with supply. So we've had a lot of people that have been, whether they liked it or whether they didn't like it, that's not the point. The point is they've been able to find some accommodation that way. And so the supply needs have been met in new building a great deal. And we can't take that out of the conversation. That's really important for us to understand that. That would not happen if the city wasn't vibrant. If it wasn't vibrant and the economics weren't there, those things would not be happening. And I don't think a lot of the developers would be putting anything in the ground if they didn't feel pretty confident that they were going to be able to sell the projects that they were in. And that's still going on. And I don't see that changing in any way, shape, or form in the next little while, for sure. Now, having said that, the true economics of our country, that's going to unfold in October, when basically all assistance are gone from the government. So we'll see whether there's going to be changes to that effect at the moment. But right now, it looks pretty much the same, and it's still good. The economics are very good to the country. So.
Frank Binder is my guest here on Royal LePage Binder Live. Happy to chat with him as always as we dive into the numbers and make sense of what the real estate market means to you here living and working in Windsor Essex. Let's go to some of the comments that we're getting live in the feed. Appreciate you commenting on these shows. That's why we kind of wrangle Frank in to kind of comment on these. And Beth, one of our team members, says, I love showing out-of-town buyers the great area of Essex County. It actually makes me appreciate it more. And it's funny, I've said this many times, Frank, and, since I've known you for a number of years, it's like, because we're sort of born and raised, you kind of take this area for granted, in terms of the wineries and, how much waterfront we have. But then if I have folks or friends that I'm entertaining from out of town, say the Toronto area, and they're like, wow, you guys have all this waterfront. You have these parks that are right here. It really puts a different lens on, I think, selling the area and really showcasing the unique properties of Windsor and Essex County.
Yeah, listen. Even with we're not even talking about selling real estate. I had some friends of mine. I took them to a number of golf courses around the county, and we went out to a winery and went. I mean, just to do all those things, people just don't realize that we have 19 wineries around right now. I mean, we've got to really discover. It's a process of self-discovery in a sense. Discover what we've got around us in our neck of the woods. Walk in our parks. I remember just. With this pandemic, I've never walked in some of these parks that we've got right across from my office. I've never walked in that park. So those are the kinds of things that we just need to do and understand. All those things that we have to offer. It's substantial. And when I was out in Amherstburg and walked down the waterfronts of Amherstburg, even there are so many of those things, and it's no different in Leamington with the waterfronts there. Our waterfront is something to be really marveled at. We have substantial things to offer, and people are really looking forward to that. It's funny that people that come to our city appreciate those more than us, and that's kind of an interesting development. But we need to go out and do those discoveries ourselves to really appreciate what we've got to offer, and we've got a lot to offer, quite frankly.
Frank, I wanted to talk to you too a little bit about what's ahead in the future, and certainly it's been an unprecedented time. I mean, that term's been used so often over the last almost 2 years now that we've been going through this global pandemic. But with sort of what may be on the horizon with, vaccinations and all those different things, and, possible fourth wave, we're in a fourth wave, what this looks like in the winter. I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I mean, generally speaking, what does that tell you from your lens and your experience, with your background in terms of what we may or may not see going forward in terms of the market?
Well, I always look at the economics. The economics are good. I think we've got diversification enough in our city now. I hasten to point out, I'm just watching the TV was talking about that the Chrysler's only been open 8 weeks since March, and we've not noticed that. If past years, if that was the case, it would be substantially a problem for our city. So I mean, we've got to the point where that has less obstruction, if you will, in certainly in the housing market. So that's a good thing. We've got that is not going to be as much of a problem. But the old story, it's always about interest rates. It's always about those things that would affect us greatly. If there's increase in our the cost of living and everything else that goes up. If there's increase in interest rates, they will certainly come into play, and it'll affect us greatly because many people are leveraged. They're leveraged fairly highly. So we've got to be aware of those things. Always got to be paying attention to those things. But if our economics continue to grow and jobs continue to grow, as there seems to be the case, we've apparently reached close to where we were. So I mean, that's a great thing. So that's come back faster than we thought, and those are all good things. So right now, I'm looking at, it looks fairly rosy, so to speak, and that's a good thing. But I'm always a little cautious about the economics, right?
Well, I just wanted to say thanks for spending some time with me again. It's just a blessing to have a chance to chat with you and to dive into those numbers as well. And I should say kudos to you and the entire team too for just a phenomenal day at our annual golf tournament at Point West. I know that was a lot of fun for a lot of folks that were able to raise some funds for Hiatus House.
Just to get out there at Arms was a lot of fun. Just to have everybody on the golf course and to be able to get together in a dining room again, to have some in-person. Mind you, was less people, but I'm happy to say that we have raised $30,000 for Hiatus House, and we're looking forward to spending some time with them in a couple of weeks to make that official announcement with them. So we're really thrilled about it, and we're thrilled that it's gone well, even in spite of half the golfers that we had. So it's we've actually been able to get to our goals. So that's good. It's good for them. They certainly need it. They need the help, and we're happy to be a partner with them.
Well, happy to be along with all the success of Roy LePage, and continue to work with the team and work with you and the crew. And I'm looking forward to the AGM for Hiatus House too. I think that's going to be really great to get out there and spend some time with everybody at the St. Clair Center for the Arts. So, Frank, what a pleasure, and thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Arms. You take care. Have a great day.
You too. Frank Binder, who is the owner and broker of record of Roy LePage Binder. Great guy, just full of knowledge and certainly some great insight from what we can expect in the next little bit for the market here in Windsor Essex. So we check in with Frank once a month here on Roy LePage Binder Live, and we have some continuing questions coming in. I appreciate everyone joining in on the feed too. So this rebroadcast will be up on our YouTube channel too. Make sure to check that out for yourself. And don't forget to follow along. We do lots of live streams like this with our realtors. We do it with a number of our preferred suppliers and more with Roy LePage Binder Real Estate. So go to our website, roylepagebinder.com, for complete details. And hey, stay connected to the realtors that make a difference in your community. Again, roylepagebinder.com is the website to check out. That'll do it. We'll see you back in the next little bit. Thanks for spending some time with us here on the show. And again, make sure to follow along on our social media channels to get all the latest information and listings from Roy LePage Binder Real Estate. Thanks for watching.